Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kelsey Moore, and I am a PhD candidate here in Film and Media Studies, and I'm so thrilled to be here chatting today with the fabulous Mona May.
Thank you, guys. I'm so excited to be here, and for you to see Clueless on the screen is such a treat, I think, because you really get to see all the detail, and I don't know, I was right there hearing all the laughs and stuff, which is so amazing, and makes me so happy that you are watching it having such a good time.
So, Clueless is your first feature film. Before that, you worked on various music videos, shorts, and series, including, interestingly enough, MTV's Just Say Julie, which was written by Julie Brown, who plays the gym teacher in Clueless. So I'm just wondering if we could start off today in our conversation with you telling us a bit about your journey into costume design. And I'm specifically interested in how you decided to pursue your love for fashion through the entertainment industry.
It's a loaded question. I was a fashion design student. And as a little kid, I was drawing princesses and already had collections for them at age 5 and telling mom what to wear. So I think it was destiny. But not till I really got to Los Angeles and studied at FIDM. This is when I was more introduced to the entertainment industry. I mean, I knew about costume design or costumes, but not really till I got to LA. I got to meet people in the industry and had friends who were studying at the UCLA and USC film school. And at one point they came up to me and said, "Hey, we're doing a little short film and we need clothes. Do you have clothes?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got clothes." And they handed me a script for a short, and that was really the beginning for me. And it was just a revelation, truly, because fashion is one thing. It's designing trends, is being on top of everything, and this was really diving into someone's personality, psychology, life, who they are, where they come from, what is their journey in the film. Mm-hmm. To really tell the story with the clothes, it was just such a genius idea. I loved it. And I also loved the collaborative process of filmmaking. I really love working in a team with the production designer, of course, the director, with the DP, and really creating something together. I enjoy that very much. So that was kind of the humble beginnings in a way. And Clueless wasn't really my first feature, it was my first studio film. So that was really interesting because, as you're starting out, you're doing non-union things, low budget stuff, the MTV things where I was the prop person and the hair and makeup person, and the costume person. So you really learn everything, I think, grounds up. And I did meet Amy Heckerling on a pilot, the director of Clueless. Fabulous Amy Heckerling. I hope you all have seen Fast Time at Ridgemont High, which is an amazing movie that she's directed, among many others. Mm-hmm. And I went for interview for a pilot. It was a pilot that was shooting about 2 girls in New York City, party girls, and I got the job. We really kind of connected in a meeting, and she loved it. I had the fashion background. And working on the pilot was just a dream. It was really, really amazing because we had such a similar sensibility about fashion. She loved my color, how I use color in my work. And when she wrote Clueless, she called me and she said, "You are the girl. I really want you to do it," which was a huge lucky break, And what was amazing to me, that really my background of fashion was so important in that film, to bring that as a fashion designer and have almost like 2 hats and a costume designer at the same time, to really get a script like this was a dream come true, truly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you give us a sense a little bit about what those early conversations with Amy were like and how you sort of started to piece together this fashion dream world together?
Well, as a costume designer, I'm sure there's some costume designer people here who, when you're doing a play or, a small movie, big movie, I think it's a very similar process. You're sitting down with the director and you really have to download their vision. Like, what is it? Who are these people? What are you trying to tell? Is it dark? Is it happy? Is it, what's the beginning and what's happening? What's the journey of the characters? So that's the first thing that I really sit down with and kind of get a feel. And with Amy, this is an adaptation of Emma, Jane Austen Emma. But she wrote it really for a modern day. We were not really going back to Emma. It was truly set in Beverly Hills, 1994. That's when we started prepping. Movie came out in 95. And in the script there was already written that they're rich girls, they have all the money in the world, daddy's credit cards, they can go to Paris fashion shows and buy whatever they want. So I knew that, I knew about Share. We started kind of trading tear sheets from magazines. That was pre-computer, you guys. This is, all analog times. And trying to, figure out what that is. I started looking at the runway shows, but we had to be very careful because you can't just take runway clothes and put it on 16-year-old girls. They still had to be youthful. It had to feel like you were in high school, even though they are rich and wearing these, high-end threads. And also Amy wanted to be very feminine because at the time, if some of you may remember, 1994, everybody was wearing grunge. I mean, it was truly the era of Kurt Cobain, baggy pants on girls and boys. And when we went to scout for the high school in the Valley in LA, we were just crying. Me and Amy were like, oh my God, this is just horrible. We need to change this world. We need to bring color and femininity, So it was really our goal too, to kind of change that. And, so interesting about this film too, you guys, that it was a movie about girls and there was no movies about girls before. When Amy wrote this, in 1993 probably, or when she was writing it and started pitching it to the studios, no one wanted to make this film. All the studios passed. They said to her, hey, if you throw some boys in, we'll make it. And she's like, mm-mm. So not till Paramount Studios, where Sharon Lansing was at the time the head of the studio, a female head of the studio, she took us in, But it wasn't a big budget movie, it was $12 million. It's, not a lot of money really to create this whole world that we had to do. But it was kind of a lucky thing too, because they really didn't think that this movie is going to do anything. So they left us alone. And we got to really play and do whatever, there was no producer breathing on our necks and making costume decisions as they are now. I mean, there's like 20 producers coming to sets and saying, oh, I hate the shoes. And, you're like, you're sitting behind a desk. How are you making the decision? Counting money.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that this film was so difficult to kind of get off the ground, because I think all the audiences of today are proving, those businessmen wrong in the Paramount studios.
Oh my God, and look, I mean, we started everything. I mean, Legally Blonde, Mean Girls, all those movies. I mean, Sex and the City was at the same time starting out, and also movies about fashion, I mean, Devils Wear Prada and those movies. It's really, I think, something that started it. And it's kind of part of how we really look at clothes, in film. Absolutely.
So you just mentioned that this film was given a budget of $12 million. I'm curious what the costuming budget specifically was like. And so if it was in fact that bad,
oh my God,
how did you kind of approach this kind of costuming and sourcing these clothes for such fashion-forward characters?
It was a huge challenge. I mean, really, truly, it was a huge challenge because think of it, you're trying to do something super high fashion, something there's no blueprint for, right? I can't go to the store and buy Clueless looks. They don't exist. I had to invent them. So, I had about $200,000, which is nothing, truly, because I had to dress not only the principal actors. Alicia Silverstone alone had 63 changes. Dion had about 45, and then you had Ember, and you had Ty, and you had the boys, of course. Then you had all the cliques, and then you had all the kids in the classrooms. You had the kids in the quads. Everybody had to be dressed because they came in the morning in their grunge stuff. And we were like, you can't be in this movie. You're from a different part of town. So the extras would come in the morning at 5 a.m. and line up, and we would just dress them head to toe and give them everything from the clothes to the hats and accessories, and they would have makeup on, and it was a big job for that amount of money. And where do I go? I mean, I go to the runways, but I can't buy the things from the runways. So, certain things in the movie I spend the money on, like it was the Jean Paul Gaultier yellow suit for Cher. But like the Alaya dress, I couldn't afford it. I loved that dress. I fell in love with that dress because Amy wrote, this very grown-up Christmas red dress. And I went to the store, I was like, this is it. But it was $3,000. There was no way. Probably $7,000 now. So what I did, we actually called Alaya. I mean, this was before the big PR machines, when everybody's like, okay, celebrity and the clothes, you're getting everything free. So there was nothing that we were getting for free. And also they were not movie stars yet, my actresses. Everybody was very young at the time. So I actually called the atelier in Paris. We found somebody who speaks French. We found the number. Remember the rotary phones? And could we please borrow it? We have this beautiful girl, Alicia Silverstone movie by Amy Heckerling. And he said, yes.
Wow.
But then Amy wrote that she has to get on the ground in the dress. So I was having a heart attack. I went to Alicia. I said, Alicia, you got to do me a solid. You cannot rip this dress. There cannot be a snag because we have to return it. And she was like, I got you, Mom. Hey. And she did beautifully, nothing happened, but it's those are the great stories, kind of that we lived through. But the challenge, back to the challenge. So yeah, how do you get the clothes? So it was a lot of thrifting. It was a lot of going to the mall. Remember Contempo Casuals, anybody? So really bringing this together through all the different ways, Even if we had something, this has never been kissed. Even if we had something from the thrift store for 99 cents, we altered it. So it was like perfectly tailored, like couture. So you couldn't even tell that it was maybe from a thrift store. So it was a mix. It really was a mix. And also, sometimes having disadvantage in a way or something hard brings something new, something that you can maybe create. And that was the first time that also people start wearing high and low. And this was something that really came from me not having the money. Mm-hmm. Like if you see the opening act when the debate with Cher and Amber is wearing like a black cardigan with the feathers, with a white t-shirt, feather headband, with jeans. And people didn't dress that way. Now everybody's like Balenciaga bag with the ripped jeans and flip-flops and a fur coat. So that was really fun to create something like this, and I think that's part of really something that maybe you as audience who are younger are really loving it because it was fresh and it's something that we still do. Mm-hmm. And I think also the clothes being very girly, very feminine, that was really important. I mean, there's a little bit of nods to Emma, Jane Austen with the empire dresses and cap sleeves, but we wanted to make it very modern. It wasn't really something on my or Amy's agenda to really relate it too much to that. It was just a little kind of nods, which I think it's still very feminine and timeless. I would wear it now. You probably would wear it now. If it's somewhere in the store, it probably will sell really well because it just fits great.
Yeah. I think we have some people in the audience wearing it right now, so we'll see them a little later.
Can't wait.
Do you have a particular favorite thrift store find, out of curiosity?
Well, I really love Dion's purse because it's 1950s, and she ended up wearing it all the outfits. It's pretty great, but
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's really cool. So, I mean, we could wear it now.
Yeah.
And that's what's so fun, I think, about this movie. That's what I feel so proud of. I think that really the looks have stood the test of time. And I think it's something maybe from my upbringing, being born in India, growing up in Poland and living in Germany and traveling a lot with my parents as a kid. It gave me kind of a global point of view. Then, now we talk about it global. We didn't really have that lingo at the time. Mm-hmm. To kind of step away. It wasn't so much California. It really was something timeless. The idea of all the plaid, for example, came to me because Catholic school girl uniform. Plaid. I mean, Vivienne Westwood also, runways. But then what would Cher do? What we could do with the gym scene? It's black and white uniform, but then it's kind of like on steroids. So, having really fun with that, I think, creativity, imagination, it's just so important because, you need to break the rules sometimes. And that's how you can maybe find something that's different and maybe it can become iconic. I mean, we're talking about it 30 years later, and my book has the yellow plaid cover, which is quite amazing.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned what would shared you, because I think so much of this film's character development is actually driven forward by a lot of these fashion choices. I remember, the last time I'd watched this film while I was preparing for this talk, I really clocked that, not only does the Alaya need to not be damaged on the ground, but it is kind of the reason why Cher misses her curfew in the first place, because the watch will clash with the Alaya, so we're not going to wear a watch and abide by Daddy's curfew.
Absolutely.
I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit about how the script and costume design work together. So did your costume design and choices influence how Amy was approaching these characters and vice versa? Was this something, how collaborative was that process for the two of you?
Absolutely collaborative. And this is so awesome, you guys, if you find a collaborator that you are like in sync with and you see the things the same way. I mean, that was such a joy to work with Amy, because of that, I was kind of given a little bit of carte blanche. She trusted me from working on another project together. And we are able to really be in sync, and that allows for the trust to kind of let go a little bit. I mean, there is a script, and it's very important to follow the script, to have the characters develop who they are. Cher is different from Dion. Cher is, the queen bee, but she's also a little bit of control freak. How her clothes are always very tailored, how everything is very matchy. I mean, the shoes she puts on her, how important they are. Where Dion, also the actress was a little older, she was a little bit more into fashion and a little sexier. We could push the boundaries also with her skin tone. So all of that really comes into the consideration when you're creating the characters. All that stuff comes out in the fittings. Because you can imagine things beautifully on beautiful boards like this, but not till actors come into the fitting and try the things on. This is when you really know, when they feel it. When we put the yellow suit on Alicia Silverstone after trying a bunch of others, it was like we had goosebumps because we knew this is the queen bee, this is her, she's gonna pop. It's the ray of sunshine that we needed. So, it's very kind of, I mean, it's collaborative in all sense of me and Amy. It's the actors, I have to talk to the production design, I have to talk to the DP. But what was so amazing about Amy too, that she allowed me to bring the things to the script. So for example, when we did the dress, the Alaya dress, it wasn't written Alaya. So when we did the fitting and that was chosen, she wrote that it's an Alaya. And I mean, how crazy Alaya was put on a map in America in the fashion. And everybody knew who Alaya was. I mean, quite amazing, With the Calvin Klein dress, for example, it was written something inappropriate. She's wearing an inappropriate dress. So then me and Alicia would fit things and, try things on. And we tried a lot of kind of undergarments, and everything looked kind of too... Again, we had to think about her being 16 and not looking really naked, and not looking like a slip beige. And when we actually came upon this Calvin Klein dress, what was so cool, it was kind of stretchy material, but it had a lot of cotton, so it wasn't shiny, it was matte. And it almost feel a little bit virgin-like too, and it was amazing. And Amy was like, "This is great, I love it," and Alicia loved it. And then I added the sheer coat, which again became a joke in a script, like, "Oh, duh, Dad, let me put the coat on and it's sheer, right?" So I love that. I love that whimsy and kind of fun and being able, not a lot of directors may not be open to that, but Amy was, and I mean with the. Same with the hat, Dion's hat, Dr. Seuss, that's Amy's written after getting the hat, or Skinnacollie for the backpack. So that's really, really amazing to have that kind of trust in a relationship with a director, It's fun for a costume designer because I can just kind of bring things and, I'm not going to be shut down. She may not choose it, but she's not going to be like, "Oh, this is crazy." Yeah.
Right. You mentioned other kind of on-set collaborations, and in your book you also talk about a little bit about working with the cinematographer and the DP. And I'm sure quite a few of our audience members are actually film students in our department, so I'm just wondering if you could speak a bit on the importance of sort of collaboration behind the scenes with, other members of the crew besides the director.
I mean, as I said in the beginning, to me it's everything. I love it. I mean, I love sitting at a table and talking about the script, the project, the characters, where they live, what's the apartment looks like, not only what they're wearing, but what kind of sheets do they have, where they went to school, what are the colors of the walls of their apartment. And I can bring a lot of information too to the production designer because I'll know the skin tone of the actor. And I can say, wow, that would be really bad. For example, in Enchanted, you guys, when she wears the curtain dress, the production designer wanted the curtains to be like pea green. And I was like, Amy Adams cannot wear a pea green dress because she would look like jaundice. So I had to really work with him. And he was like, well, he can't really have teal curtains because he's a male. I'm like, well, let's think about it. Maybe there was a wife. We don't really know what happened to the wife in the movie, but maybe she bought the curtains, was more feminine. And in the end, the curtains are a little bit more pea green, and her dress is a little bit more aqua green, teal. So you don't really know, but you have to find a way. So you have to really talk about it because everybody has their own kind of take on things. I mean, the DP in Clueless was amazing. You guys got to look him up. Bill Pope, he's genius. And we were all kind of young at the time, but he really took the camera, and it was like a fashion eye. So nobody was shooting like that before. I mean, it was really like a Noxzema commercial in a way. I mean, he took the camera, and we saw the full body outfit from the head to toe. We saw the earrings, we saw the shoes. He went up the leg. If he didn't do it, half of the stuff you wouldn't see in the movie what I put on the actors on. So it was amazing collaboration. The production designer in Clueless also left the sets very plain. If you see, there's mostly gray walls. There's stuff going on in the school, of course, the quad and the flowers of California. But my costumes were able to jump off, and we were not fighting together. So it's such an important thing, I think, talking with the actors, with the production designers, between all of us, trading swatches. I need to know what the couch is going to be, because if I put her in a green dress and it's a green couch, it's going to be bad. Absolutely. And then you know how it is, day of shooting, and the actors goes to set, and that stuff happens, and who is getting all stressed out? The actor. And this is the last thing we want to do, As my job is to really bring everything 100%, that they are ready to go and be in a movie, play the part.
And as you're saying here, color is so important. Color is so, so important in this film in particular. And obviously we know all about Cher's yellow iconic skirt suit that you don your book with. Upon my latest rewatch, I was really taken by all of the different ensembles that you had to dress, especially the ones that you dress in kind of different shades of red, the kind of preppier kind of, group, and then you have that fantastic montage of the baggy pant males, right, walking down So I'm just wondering if you could talk a bit about
the only odd to the moment of 1994, the reality of things.
So how is it to kind of create those ensemble kind of moments as opposed to dressing like your primaries like Cher?
Well, to me, I'm telling a story. I'm creating a world. I mean, I think a world that you are now watching and are completely immersed in, because everything from beginning to end is in that world. So I had to make sure that everybody fits that world. And I had to dress the groups as well, So, I mean, we had the skateboarder kids, we had the preppy boys, the rich boys. It really was so important. And it was not easy, because, I mean, I'm creating probably now on the $200,000, thousands of costumes. I'm not only dressing the principals,
Right.
But I think the other challenge is too to make sure that the girls together will look great. So we start with Cher. We'll do her wardrobe. We'll plug her into the scenes. Emotionally where everything needs to kind of live, and then we'll take Dion and put them together. How they have to look good together, and then you add the tie, and you get Amber. So kind of like, in Sex and the City, you always had the three girls here too, so they have to look fabulous together. You don't want to be like, oh, this does not, oh my God, why is she in purple and she's in that? I can't, ugh. So to me, when I look at the screen, to me it's like a painting. So it all has to balance beautifully together, the colors. Each character has to stay in their own lane, but then they all have to, look beautiful together. So there's a lot of elements, you guys. It's such a crazy puzzle to do. I mean, and especially when you really in movies, you have 5 changes, 15 maybe it's max, but then when you're dealing with like 63 changes for the principal, they change a lot. That's a lot of clothes. But I'm crazy like this. I get all the movies. So I get the Romy and Michelle, I get the House Bunny. I'm like, it's wild, I'm not afraid of it. Throw it at me,
Well, as we know, countless press outlets credit Clueless for quite literally reshaping 90s fashion. And in Fashion for Clueless, you credit it for changing your career, your creative approach, and your life. And as we know, you subsequently worked on many other featured films. Some are included here, including The Wedding Singer, Never Been Kissed, Enchanted, and one of my personal favorites, Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion. Could you talk about how this film changed your creative approach in particular and how you carried it with you to subsequent work?
It's interesting. How did it change? I don't know if it really changed my creative approach, but I think it opened my creative way of doing things, because I had the director who was like, let's go, Mona, bring me more color, give me some more hats, knowing that I'm a hat maniac and I love hats, and I want everybody to wear hats. I think the coolest thing, the coolest accessory. But, working with somebody like Amy and having like a mentor like that, I'm sure you have teachers like that, or friends or colleagues who really, you get along so well, and there's such ease. And I think it really opened me up and allowed me to kind of bring my creativity out. So, it gave me confidence with her not to be afraid to really go crazy and have fun and have all the different colors and have the crazy hats. And I think what was amazing that when I did it and the movie came out and it was successful, it's like, oh my God, it actually works. People love this. You know how it is. You do your projects, you do a painting, and you hope that people like it. So that was kind of a proof. And then I was like, okay. So Romy and Michelle, Never Been Kissed, all the subsequent movies, I was kind of an unleashed person. And what is so cool now, it's like when you're looking at my body of work, it's a signature. Color is my signature, boas are my signature, hats are my signature. So it's something that Amy allowed me to kind of be. She unleashed kind of the creative power of me, and then it was cool.
The power of collaboration.
The power of collaboration.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful, It's really, it's like, I think the parents who really love what you do, and they like, okay, they give you the guitar lessons at 5 because you love it, or, take you to a drawing class, and they allow you to kind of, creatively grow.
So your work has been extensive, and now you've just released The Fashion of Clueless in October 2025.
My baby. I'm so proud of this, you guys. Seriously, it's like I've been waiting 30 years for this.
It's a gorgeous book, and you've spent the last few months taking it around the globe. I'm wondering if you could just kind of walk us through how the process of writing this book began for you, and how did you approach deciding, what to include in its contents and its design as well?
Well, as I said, I've been waiting to do this book forever, and it was 30th anniversary this year, and I was like, this is it. I approached Paramount, I pitched it to them. I said, I think we should do it. This is 30th anniversary. I mean, how much longer do we have to wait, And they said yes. And they had, planned a lot of festivities this summer. It was, July 19th, so we had a lot of festivities, a lot of events. So they were like, let's do it. And I had about a year and a half to do it. And, all the pictures are from Paramount. So we had to go into the vault and find the pictures and, get approvals from the actors. And, I always wanted to do something about behind the scenes, also telling the reader about the costume design process, interviewing the actors, which was so fun, you guys. I got to talk to Paul Rudd after not really speaking to him for many years, and he was reminding me Mona used to make me wear my own jeans and boots, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, he was kind of that guy, in a way, Paul Rudd. It was his first movie, ever. I mean, everybody was so young, you guys. It was just, I think it was so much fun for all of us because we were like kids, at Paramount Lot working on this amazing movie about young kids looking cool, with a great director. I mean, I think there's something of our energy in the film too, because we were having such a great time and hoping that it's, maybe another great John Hughes movie about cool kids, but none of us really imagined that this would be something that put all of us on the map, basically. I mean, opened the Hollywood door to everyone. I got an agent after that, and, all our careers skyrocketed. So I think everything is in there, kind of what's been living in my heart, something that I've wanted to share with, fashionistas and film buffs and, creative people who just would be inspired. I wanted them to take this book home and be with these characters. Kind of, you can be intimately with Paul Rudd and kind of check it out. And we have Polaroids in there, you guys, that I didn't even know that they existed from this set. We used to take Polaroids for continuity. We didn't have phones. phones. So we would carry these Polaroids on our belt, on a big kind of a ring, and check, okay, how somebody is wearing, the sleeves. And we found these Polaroids, you guys, and they actually survived 30 years. I mean, Polaroids just disintegrate after like, I don't know, a week. So it was a miracle. And we actually pushed publishing the book for 2 weeks to get them in because we just like found them last minute. So treasures, there's just so much treasure there, and I think actors talking about their journey, how, Elisa Donovan, who plays Amber, she really talks about how that, influenced her, how that opened her up. Like she was actually dealing with a lot of issues with weight and all the different things, and how this character kind of allowed her to open up, how she was very trusting, and it was beautiful. So there's just such great stories there from behind the scene. Amy Heckerling wrote the foreword, which is just beautiful. I have a nice intro as well, kind of talking about my process. And it's fun. I mean, it's really, really fun. So I'm so happy that I can give that to the world, to you, to be inspired and have fun with it. And I designed the cover. The studio wanted to have the girls on the cover, and I was like, no way. I need this to be about a costume designer. I wanted this to be fabric. This actually is like a tag, costume tag with a safety pin here. There's stitching on the page. I mean, everything, every page in the book, I looked at, and designed. So it's really cool. It has a lot of me as an artist. I want it to be kind of like a scrapbook in a way, So that energy that you see on the screen is in the book.
Something that I also really love about this book is that in addition to all its Clueless content, it also has quite a bit of advice from you for its readers, for young women. And I think we were speaking earlier about kind of the importance of mentorship and like seeing those sort of, part of our crew kind of come up and get wings and take off on their own. So I'm just wondering if you could talk about sort of the importance of mentorship and how that sort of, how you've, gone from sort of working with Amy Heckerling to becoming a mentor in your own right for so many women in particular. And I just wondered if you could touch on that.
Well, I think that, from the beginning, what was always very important to me, because I've worked with a lot of young actresses, through my career, I did a lot of Disney movies. I don't know if you guys heard, I did like Cheetah Girls and Xenon and Lemonade Mouth and Wizard of Waverly Place. And
that got him.
And the Jonas Brothers. What was the one with the Jonas Brothers? I can't remember.
Camp Rock.
Camp Rock. So I had a lot of kind of experience of working with young actors. And it was very important to me because, I think as women we are very insecure, especially when we are young, and how do you kind of work with actors and give them confidence as a woman especially, to really feel good in your body and to, be able to be feminine and strong at the same time. And I think in all my movies it is such an important part of my work, I think, to express something. I mean, look at these girls, right? It's feminine, but it's powerful. If it's telling a story about being the more authentic you are and who you are, that's the best, and that's what makes you the most happy, So I think working with the actors also allowed the characters to grow, and I think that's kind of what's really, really important part of, I think, my work. And I think then with the experience that I've had, spilling that out to mentorship of, my assistants. I mean, on Clueless, the TV show, I bumped up my assistant designer to do the 3rd season of the show. I mentor now a lot of young students. I'm going to start also online classes and online mentorship as well. Kind of like we need to have more of a community, I think, for all of us, to go somewhere and be inspired and be able to talk to someone. I never had a mentor, and I really wish I had. So this is something important to me, because I think, where do we ask these questions? And someone like me who had so much experience, can really share that, and in a fun way, and that's what's so great. And I think that is, my movies are kind of uplifting. It's not a movie about cops, or it is movies about finding yourself in a way. If you think of Never Been Kissed too, and Drew Barrymore character, House Bunny, a lot of these movies. Even Enchanted, when she's trying to figure out to be in this earth and be a human. So it's beautiful, it's a beautiful journey, and I'm just delighted to have this kind of also opening doors to that, for me to be here for you, and share my journey. So from me, you can hear, how it all started for me. And, it took a lot of hard work, you guys. I've been on set for 30 years. Those are 16-hour days. This is, traveling and living in hotel rooms with bags. And I decided not to have children. It's a different kind of, I'm a gypsy more. That's my life, So you choose these things, but it's also important to share these things, to what you're getting into too in some way, and how to navigate it. I think the business is changing. We have AI, we have, different format of making films and television. Something that we all had to jump and learn, and the short format and the vertical format, and studios are getting kind of now conglomerates and being bought by how do you still stay an artist and really have a vision and really stay true to yourself and hone that is you. To share, this is Mona May, but this is, you, this is your vision. Like, how would you do Clueless? I do really fun master classes where you actually draw with students the 2026 Clueless and some ideas. And, what would that be that it's in your imagination now? How would that be different? Because each one of us is really so unique, And I also teach meditation. I think that's part of something that really has helped me throughout my career and my life, somewhere where I was able to go inside and find more of who I am. And that brought a lot of fresh ideas, something that maybe wasn't coming from the Google and Instagram or whatever, something that really I was able to sit with myself, and something that just kind of bubbled up, from the inside. And I think that's also something that we need to talk about, something that I like to share, because how do you find inspiration, in the midst of all the noise that is out there? And it's important to, I think, get quiet to find it, And for some people it could be running, for some people it could be, different thing, could be yoga. Taking a walk with your dog and looking at flowers, it could, there is my guy. Oh, where's Mishu? Is he here or is he in the room? Hi, Mishu. I travel with my dog. My dog goes everywhere with me. I have fun. It's like, I think you have to make it fun too. It's like, do you like doing this? Then let's do it. Otherwise, find a different job, I don't mind the long hours or driving to Santa Barbara or going somewhere, because this is fun for me. Joy, I think it's like, what makes you happy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have one final question before we turn it over to the audience, and you'll all get a chance to ask Mona your questions. So here we are, as we said at the beginning, 30 years later, sitting here on a Saturday afternoon talking about Clueless. Clueless was just also added to the National Registry this week. So I'm just curious, what does it mean for you to see your creative work endure and continue to resonate with so many of us audiences over time?
It really, I get asked this question a lot, and I have no words. It's hard to really say. I'm so proud. I'm so delighted, truly, that to have a legacy, that people actually get to see my work and enjoy the work, and different generations. The moms who are here with their daughters, and the young kids. I was just in the arts high school in Costa Mesa, and there were like 7th graders that were loving the movie. It's pretty amazing. I think it's all about kind of, like I said, the joy. That if my work can bring joy, and I get letters from people, DMs these days about, how I inspire them to be a costume designer or, fashion designer. I mean, I don't think there's a better thing in life that if you can, help another human being to find a path in life, it's beautiful. I mean, it's really, I'm grateful for all the years. I'm grateful for all the directors, who entrusted me in my work and allowed me to kind of, shine on a screen. And, it's sometimes when I see my own work, I'm kind of amazed too. Like when I did Enchanted and I watched it, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. How did I did it? I don't even know. It's so crazy cool. It's, it's fun. It's really, I'm so grateful. I am really grateful for this, and to be here and to be able to speak to you guys and hopefully inspire you. And you had a great time watching the movie, and you come out with your heart kind of smiling. I mean, it's nothing better than that. So I'm very lucky.
Well, we're so lucky to have you here. Right now, I'm going to turn it over to Miguel, who will lead our audience Q&A.
Yay! Excited for your questions.
Mona, thank you. I am a fashion stylist. I work with private clients, and I have been approached many, many times in the last 20 years. Don't you have an app like the Clueless app that can help me get dressed? Have you been asked that question a million times? And how do you feel about the future of AI and utilizing something like that as a costume designer to help you organize clothes? But also, have you been approached by anyone to help you, or to help them create the Clueless app?
Yeah, I've worked with a couple apps like this, but nothing yet that really, I think it's perfected. I think that maybe with the AI it will be easier because you can make the avatar of yourself. So I think that will really give you something, and I think where then you can reach to the brands and actually put the clothes from, J. Crew onto your avatar and really see it. Maybe that will change something. Otherwise, it's all like doll-like paper, cutout dolls, and then you don't.
And you would use that as a costume designer if there was a perfect app?
I possibly would, but I think that for me, it really happens anything in the fitting, and I know you know that too, that you can do all these collages, that you can do all these avatars and stuff, but not till you get a body in a fitting trying the clothes on. If it's giving you the right vibe that you need, either for a red carpet, but for the person, I mean, you can imagine that maybe Avatar shows a really great skirt, but the actors come in and they have horrible knees.
Yeah.
And you can
personalities
and you cannot
wear
do
clothes.
a mini.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Yeah. I think that we still will have our job till the real humans are acting, and I think once maybe they all avatars, we do something else. Thank you.
Hi, this is maybe a silly question, but you spend all this time in your job just constantly creating these whimsical worlds with all of this color and focusing on all of these clothes and their meaning and all of this. And I'm sure, as kind of this fashion costume designer genius, it's always on your mind. And I guess I was wondering how that's influenced your perspective when you're no longer working, when you're just in day-to-day life. How does that impact how you look at the world and just general life?
I don't think I ever stop. I'm always looking. What's they wearing? What's happening? I just love life. I get so excited by things. I take a lot of little screenshots of people, shots to remember later. I love flowers. I go for walks with my dog. I don't know. I just really get inspired. I really look at all the fashion shows. I think this is kind of my life. This is what I love. So I do breathe and live it. I don't really go to sleep and put it away. There are, I'm sure, days when I'm tired and I have to get some rest, and sleep is very important. But I think this is what fuels me. It truly is. I've done dark movies. I've done 8mm, which was a very interesting movie, and that was fun too. Diving into the different worlds. But fashion, there's something about it, and feminine fashion and all kinds of fashion, not just feminine. It delights me. I was just in London, and I got to go to Central St. Martin's, the most famous fashion school, and see their fashion show, and I was just blown away. I was like, I can't even believe this creativity, so that's what's so cool. It makes me have fun in life, it makes me wake up and go okay, what's going to happen today? I mean, everybody has different things, right? That make them happy. So that does make me happy. I hope that answers.
Hello. You sound very passionate about what you do, and you mentioned that when you were a kid, you also knew that this was a path you wanted to take. And I'm curious if you ever had like a fear of pursuing your dreams, and if so, how did you overcome that and continue to pursue what you're really passionate about?
I don't know if I ever had a fear of pursuing my dreams. I do have fear when I get into a new project. I always feel like, oh my God, am I going to be able to do it? I think there's always this feeling of like, oh my God, can I handle this? You know, I mean, this is a big project. Like Enchanted, I had 7 months to prep. I had to learn all kinds of things like 2D animation with the animators at Disney to draw the costumes. I had to learn CGI when I was doing Stuart Little. But I kind of go for it, you know, I kind of like, I feel that if I stumble and make a mistake, I'm going to learn from it, you know, so it doesn't stop me. But I do, sometimes truly each project, I'm like, oh my God, can I really do this? It's funny, I mean, it's that, but I think it's kind of cool because it's this nervousness that maybe is part of the creativity too. So I don't shut it down, you know, I kind of like, I go forward, you know, I always, also, you know, what's great in the film, you do have the collaborators, you know, so you have the director to kind of talk it out a little bit, or you can go to the production designer or DP and like, you know, how are you approaching it, or what are you thinking, or talk to the actor, you know, so if you may be stumbling against something, there's others that can, you know, really bring you in and give you another perspective, and you're like, wow. I mean, even in Romy and Michelle, you guys, the 2 dresses, the pink and the blue, the very important dresses, Mira had the blue one always, and Lisa had another dress that I designed, similar pink, but it was more chiffon, and she came to me like 2 days before we were shooting, and she was like, what is Mira wearing? And I was like, oh my God, what now? And you know, we started talking about it, and she was like, you know, I really want them to be like twins. And I was like, oh my God, how is this gonna now change? Thank God I had the director who was like a guy and didn't even really care about clothes. He was like, whatever you girls want, it's fine, you know. But we changed it, and it was last minute. There was a lot of fear around this for me, you know, but we did it, and I think it's iconic now. So it's, you know, you kind of have to go with this. You have to like push through and know that maybe the changes will allow to bring something different that could be better, you know? So it's such a great question. I think we always have, as artists, we will have a little bit of a fear. It never goes away, I think. I think if you're cocky, maybe that's where it's not good. It's like, hey, I know everything, this is cool. Okay, I don't know, different approach.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Hi, I was just wondering why in the opening scene you chose the yellow if, like throughout the rest of the movie, you maybe didn't see it as much. We saw more the bright pink, the reds, even the light green. So why was that like the color that you chose for the beginning?
Well, the color chose me. I didn't set out to do a yellow suit. It wasn't like something I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do a yellow suit in the beginning, you know. We wanted to make a plaid suit for sure because it was the first day of school and it was kind of like the Catholic girl uniform, but you know, what would Cher do on steroids? Very designer. So I brought into the fitting a couple different suits. I brought a blue one, which was really beautiful, blue plaid. I had a red plaid that was very Vivienne Westwood. I loved it. And out of the corner of my eye, I found the yellow one in the department store, like I think it was a Saks Fifth Avenue. It was very pricey, but there was something about it that just spoke to me. And I wasn't even sure if yellow is going to look good on Alicia because she's a blonde, and it's not a color that usually blondes look good in. But I was like, I got to bring that in. And, you know, we in the fitting, Amy Heckerling is there, Alicia Silverstone walks in her sweatpants with her 2 dogs, you know, in her flip-flops. She could care less about fashion at the time. And, you know, we start doing the fitting and we try the blue on, and it's beautiful, but it just doesn't have the oomph. And I knew that the scene is so important. It's the opening scene of the movie. We are outside in a quad, so a lot of green, you know, a lot of color, flowers. We also have a lot of guys crossing, right? So there's like, you know, when she goes as if, so there's a lot going on, and it's a long scene. And she's the queen bee. So the red one, Amy immediately was, no, we can't have the red because we had a very specific color palette in the movie, which was it was fall, Christmas, and then spring. So this was a Christmas color, and we put the yellow one on, and it was like, truly, we all had like goosebumps. It was perfect. It was truly like the queen bee, the ray of sunshine that we wanted. I mean, she just really lit up the room. And that's how it happened. So it's interesting, you know, I think as a costume designer, you are like a detective. You're trying to find the right thing for the right moment. And I think that's the way you can maybe make it iconic. You can't just, I think, easily say, okay, this and this is going to be iconic. I think a lot of producers want us to do this. They're like, well, make this iconic. Well, it doesn't work that way, you know. It's the process. Yeah. So this is the story of the yellow suit, you know, and it was amazing. I mean, truly, here we are, you know, on the cover of the book. So thank you for asking that question. She's wearing a really good outfit.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I'm a really big fan of your work. And this might be like a silly question, but you oftentimes hear that actors will take like home an article of clothing that they wore in a movie or an accessory. As the costume designer, do you ever get to do that yourself? Like take home an accessory that you really loved or something that you designed?
You know, it's a hard question because everything belongs to the studio, you know. So like Disney, for example, will take everything and put it in the vault. So they have all the costumes from Enchanted and from Haunted Mansion, and they preserve it. It's really actually cool. There's beautiful books about these costumes, you know, from Disney movies that I'm included in. And actors do take, and sometimes they have it in their contract to take the clothes. I mean, Alicia Silverstone actually took the clothes home, you guys, and then she gave them away because she decided she would never wear them. So those clothes, those costumes are gone forever, which just breaks my heart because like Smithsonian asked me to donate something. They had huge, you know, exhibit at the Academy of all the costumes with the red ruby slippers and, you know, and I couldn't donate anything. So it breaks my heart, but it's just kind of how it is, you know. Actors take it. Sometimes they take it home on a day of shooting and they forget to bring it back. And we have to drive to their house and get the damn top. So yeah, or earrings. Earrings always, they go home with the earrings. And for continuity, you have to have the same stuff. It's like, oh no. So we buy a lot of doubles just to make sure we are covered. But that's a great question. That's fun, yeah. Thank you.
All right, join me in thanking Mona May for joining us again today.
Thank you guys.